What is up, comic book fans? Welcome to FANLIGHT Zone Presents. I am your host. My name is Rich. Thank you so much for joining us on this YouTube video and podcast airing on the ODPH Podcast Network as well. I just want to throw out there, we are very blessed to have two wonderful creators here joining us today with an awesome project that is coming up from Skybound Entertainment and Image Comics, and that, of course, is Universal Monsters Phantom of the Opera #1. Final order cutoff date is this upcoming Monday, January 26th. So you're going to make sure you get down to the LCS and pick this up. But we're going to tell you more about why you're going to need this book in your hands when it hits on sale on February 25th, because like I said, we're joined by the creators. First of all, we have the artist, his work and his amazing work, I should add, from the Department of Truth series, and as well as he's not his first time doing Universal Monsters, as Universal Monsters Dracula, he was the artist on as well. And the writer, you know him from one of my personal favorite horror books of last year and possibly going forward, period. You'll Do Bad Things, of course. Artist Martin Simmonds and writer Tyler Boss. How are you two gentlemen doing today?
Good, thank you. Yeah.
Good.
All good.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Well, yes. And I'm, like I said, a big fan. I will peek behind the curtain. I did get to read issue 1 of Phantom of the Opera. So awesome work trying to keep this spoiler free, obviously. But I just got to jump right in and ask, how did this project come to be? How did the two of you get put together on this one?
I think you were first, actually, Martin, on the casting list. I think you were.
Yeah. Well, obviously I'd done Dracula previously to this. Alex was keen on me doing something else. So I think I'd been sort of marked down as being the artist on it for quite some time, actually. But yeah, very pleased when Alex said, "Hey, we got Tyler on it with you." It was very exciting. But then I think then Tyler had to wait for me because I was, or Skybound had to wait.
It was, Department of Truth fans would have been cross with me for making you jump. Alex had reached out to me and was wondering if he could read the first issue of You'll Do Bad Things, and sent it to him, and he seemed to like it because he asked if I had any interest in doing Phantom after that, and I said absolutely. And then he said, "Okay, well, we have Martin Simmonds on that. If you think that would be, you have anything for that?" And I
said no.
Immediately a light bulb. Yeah, right. But yeah, no, that was sort of the start of it. Speaking with Alex and immediately sort of, I was so excited when they announced the line as a fan of the Universal Monsters, and Martin and James on Dracula, and then getting to see each book since then, getting to contribute to the line, and especially on a character that, I don't know, I was so excited to touch and sort of put my little mark on with Martin. Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
This awesome. Was the one, I think, other than Dracula, this and Dracula were the two that I really, really wanted to sort of get my mucky little fingers on and do my take on it. So it was very exciting to be able to do it.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm also a big fan of the Phantom of the Opera, so this was really a cool opportunity to see this as well, and it was definitely marked on my calendar. And with that, it's going to sound weird because this story's over 100 years old, so I usually like to ask, because some people, I don't know how anybody doesn't know what Phantom of the Opera is, but just in case, what is the elevator pitch for this series?
The real one, or the one that I keep my joke one is a girl gets a new job and a dude who lives in the basement won't stop stalking her. The real version is it's 1909 in Paris, France, and a young soprano has been elevated to the prima donna role at the Paris Opera House at the Palais Garnier after the tragic death of her senior. And as more and more murders start happening across the opera house, you have to wonder, is it man or ghost who's doing this, and is Christine safe?
It is. I do like your fun one, because at the end of the day, we all, like I said, I think everybody knows the Phantom of the Opera by now. I would hope so, at least. I guess maybe just I'm aging myself in there, but it's always good to like mix it in so that the younger crowd would kind of get that, because I feel like they'll grasp the stalking from the basement a little more. Well, once again, it's over a century old as of right now, the story when the original novel form, which came out in 1910. With that being said, there's been a bunch of different takes on it, whether it's the original Lon Chaney film from 25, Andrew Lloyd Webber's London debut in 86, right up until there was a new film that came out in 2004 with Gerard Butler and Emmy Rossum. So what is the biggest challenge, both in the storytelling and with the art, knowing there's such rich history with this story?
I mean, as far as the art's concerned, we kind of like we're kind of to some degree tied to the Universal film, the Claude Rains film. Like, so that's kind of the jumping off point visually. But obviously, we wanted to push it a lot further than that and bring in more horror elements and so forth. But it's kind of like, I do think it's very hard to get past the imagery that comes with the theatre production. I think that is the thing that most people think of when they think of Phantom of the Opera. But even that, there's elements that you can draw from. But we still needed to keep it sort of fairly grounded within that original, well, not original, but the Claude Rains film, which is a great platform to start from.
Academy Award winning for
yeah,
visual,
I mean visually amazing.
Yeah. Shot in Technicolor too. But it's like Martin said, coming from the 43 version. But a big thing that I think we wanted to bring to our version of Phantom is, like you said, we have all these different versions, and there's key elements in each one that sort of go through Christine, Raoul, the Phantom. But with ours, what we really wanted to bring to it, outside of sort of the 43 jumping off point, was to really make it a horror story. I think a lot of Phantom adaptations sort of eschew that, or you could have the Dario Argento version where there's a lot of weird rats and stuff, and I don't know how much that one has to do with Phantom at all. But we wanted to do that while also sort of bringing, doing a true Gothic horror story, something that is of that time, but doing it in an opera house and doing it, based on the 43 movie, really bring color to it. And so sometimes you hear Gothic horror, you think it's going to be gray, it's going to be dull. And like ours, it's very, color is such an integral role from, how we depict music to how we, tell elements of the story. So that it does feel fun that it's like we get to even draw on the fact that the 43 movie was done in Technicolor, and color feels like it's, integral with everything we're doing.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you both had brought up that you guys were both trying to hit like a more horror tone on this, because you definitely hit the mark. And in particular, you hit the ground running. We're in the first couple pages. I don't think this is ruining anything, and we get a big like, oh yeah, horror moment. Boom. Here it is. How much was that, like, knowing that you wanted to take it in more of a horror area, how much was that important to like get it in there right away and kind of just get the ball running and showing, hey, this is a little different than what you're used to?
I think it's integral. Oh, sorry, Martin, you can go.
No, I'll go after you. You go first.
I think it was integral because it is a thing where, even I think a lot of people, when they hear Phantom, they think of the musical, and so they think it's going to be this sort of foppy romance story. And there's romance elements to our book, and but no, is important to show. No, like off the bat, 5 pages in, this is the type of story that you're in for. And it really was sort of, the idea was we wanted to start from outside the haunted house, and we enter the haunted house and we get our first kill, and that's, sorry for smacking. I just realized this is not even, but yeah, no, that was integral, I think.
Yeah, I mean, certainly from receiving the first script, you could see like, Tyler, you would set your stall out straight away with it, which is great, which is exactly what you want. You want that to be the thing. You want it to be the thing where people know what they're getting into at that stage, straight very early on, which I love about it. That's kind of like, you need to be hit with this big intense scene at the start. I think that's what made it, for me, made it quite an exciting prospect, to be honest.
Yeah, and from the reader perspective, trust me, it was like boom. And I saw, obviously we'll talk about it more, but the art's beautiful, and you're caught up in that. It's like, oh, you're looking at this, and you're almost distracted, and you're not expecting it. And then boom, it happens, and you're like, oh wow, like this is what, this is where we're going with the story. And I think it really it really was like one of those, oh, we're doing something different here. And I really, really dug that. I really think that's I can't I can't I can't even overstate how cool it is as a horror fan and loving horror comics and horror movies to just get right into the mix and know, hey, we're doing a horror version as opposed to the more romantic version. And And speaking of which, Tyler, when coming up with that, you mentioned, of course, the Broadway musical is probably the most known. When you were writing your version of Christina Daae, what, obviously going to more of a horror element, what was your like inspiration for, the character?
Sure, it's gonna not be obvious at first because she's not at all like this character, but really the basis for it was Katharine Hepburn and Bringing Up Baby, where she's sort of a goofball character in that, but there's something about she's very self-assured. She's very sort of, she knows of herself, and you start her there, and then in the story she sort of starts to slowly doubt herself, and she changes over the course of it. And so for our version of Christine, a lot of different versions of Phantom, she's sort of just blank. She's sort of just there for the audience to put themselves on, and things happen to her, but she has zero agency within it, herself. And in our story, I didn't want to do that. Me and Martin have a version of Christine. She's supposed to be a person, and so we sort of start with this sort of person who's maybe assured, and she slowly is whittled down, and she changes over the course of our story until ultimately however she ends up at the end. The curtain comes up, we meet the character, the curtain comes down, the character's changed. But I didn't want her, or even Raoul, who in some regards sometimes just feel like the foil, like it's just a literary term for that, and that's all he really is. I wanted each character to sort of feel like they've lived full lives and how they've interacted with each other, because a big part of horror, or at least getting audiences invested in, is that they should care what happens to these characters, because otherwise it's just grist for the mill. And so that just really felt really important. And so again, it probably seems weird, but yeah, Katharine Hepburn was the starting point, even though it's not at all like her.
No, it seemed perfect to me, because actually, as we were talking about, I was thinking like in the terms of like horror, it definitely feels Final Girl-esque. And like I said, it's hard not to give anything away, but without giving anything away, there is a scene where you're in your head, you're saying, you could possibly be in danger, and she's just having a casual conversation, and you're just like, but you could be in danger, right? And it's like that real Final Girl like kind of thing. So hearing that, you kind of like, it's kind of in my head, you think something like Laurie Strode in Halloween, where at the beginning of the story, she's this innocent girl. By the end of the story, she's a hardened survivor. And so it's kind of, I'm not saying it's going to be like that, but it's kind of cool to know that there's going to be the growth there. And it is definitely different in a way different take. So like I said, I got Final Girl energy right away from just that one scene alone. I'm just like, oh man, this is gonna be this should be really good. Martin, you mentioned you're a stranger to the Universal monsters. You did Dracula, and now having worked on Dracula, and you said these were the two picked. Was there any different process when you were creating honestly, we're probably going to insert some of the art in here. It's gorgeous. I can't even give.
Thank you.
It's just beautiful. What was a very different process on that from this to Dracula?
It's somewhat of a different style. There's like I certainly wanted to. I mean, again, me and Tyler talked about this, but looking at artists like Degas and things like that, and looking at impressionism like as an art form, and trying to use that as the kind of basis for how I'd depict this. It's somewhat less defined than it maybe would be in Dracula. I mean, obviously we use a lot more color in this version as well. It's like all fully painted, so it's like set in one of the most sort of beautiful settings it could be setting. So it's like there's lots of great architecture, lots of bold colors, lots of gold and things. So it's, from that point of view, it's very different. Like in Dracula, we use color sparingly and brought that in to depict certain things. But there's color there all the time. But certainly with the way we depict music and things like that, when the colours are sort of enhanced and brought in and made much bolder. So that's kind of a constant throughout the whole book, as opposed to Dracula. But there's certain elements that I experimented with in Dracula, like collage and things like that, which will also appear in Phantom. So there's some things that have been brought across. I mean, it's always gonna look like me, my style, whatever we do with it. But yeah, I definitely didn't just want to replicate the style that was in Dracula. I needed to look somewhat different to that.
Oh yeah, it definitely hit the mark, because it definitely looks different.
Thank you. And I think that, again, I was saying before, that the juxtaposition, that contrast between the horror elements with the Phantom and the setting that it's in and so forth, that enhances the horror. Sort of, you can have beauty within horror as well, but the beauty of the surroundings really push that element. When you see the Phantom, it really pushes that horror element of that. Yeah, contrasts always good.
A lot of different things going on. I thought it was really, really neat.
Cheers.
And like it's just beautiful, like going across the whole like page and everything. And you could just I literally was like, you could take a piece of this out hanging on your wall and it'd be fine art.
Oh, thank you. Cheers.
Like just
Very
throwing it
kind.
out there.
Thank you.
Uh
Cheers.
so so thank you. For both of you, we know whenever doing like stories and you're writing, you're writing and drawing, you get drawn to characters and you put them in your own bubble, and some of them you like more than others.
Mhm.
Was there any character for both of you that as you went through the story, your feelings changed on them, whether for better or for worse, where you're like, oh, I really love doing, like I didn't really love this one. Now I kind of, or vice versa.
There's a character in the book. I might pronounce it. It's either is it Gigi or Gigi? It's Gigi. I would have thought.
Gigi, yeah.
Yeah, like that character for me, like straight away, I knew I was going to love drawing that character. Like it's just like with his costume, with the green costume with the horns and stuff. All of that was great.
Yeah.
I know he's kind of
He's
like,
he plays Mephistopheles.
Mephistopheles, doesn't he? Yeah,
Yeah,
Mephistopheles. Yeah. So that was great. That was like that's right on my street. So that was fun to paint. Yeah, I love characters like that. It's good.
I mean, writing wise, the Alex had to really rein me in. There's a scene in the first issue when Raoul and Christine first meet each other, and I think I probably had about 6 pages of dialogue of them going back and doing things where our wonderful editor Alex Anton was like, "It's not that it's bad dialogue, Tyler, but you got to leave room so that Martin can paint something." And so, no, the relationship between Christine and Raoul was really, really fun to write. And honestly, their relationship and the Phantom and Christine's relationship and where they sort of end up by the time we get to where the curtain's going to come down again. I was surprised where certain characters wound up. I sort of knew my intent for them, but there was certain parts that in going through the story and writing it that I was surprised the sort of turn some characters take.
Well, and the other thing for me, obviously, Christine, when her singing moments, so those vocal moments are things that for me were a real challenge. The whole sort of approach to the music elements of it was something that me and Tyler discussed beforehand, and trying to find a solution to that was interesting. You can go down the route of the kind of the kind of the bog standard kind of like musical notes flowing through the air, that kind of stuff, but we wanted to avoid that. So I think the solution we came up with was kind of a satisfying one, I think, really. But that's been really enjoyable to work on and try and find that solution. Yeah, I mean, like all the double exposure, enhancing the colors and all that kind of stuff. Because you don't just hear music, you feel music. There's vibration and stuff. So we're trying to sort of depict that frequency as well. All of that made that like the most exciting challenge, I think, as far as that character went.
I think it's exciting to see in your work too, Martin, because it is a thing where, when you're talking about Dracula and it's the red was such an integral part of doing that, and the sort of doily scanned in and the flies and stuff. And then with Phantom having, obviously we have the gold leaf, we have these things, but when you're bringing in the fluorescence and these different things that maybe we don't ascribe to 1910 Paris to sort of show musicality in these different things, it's pretty, I don't know, I think it's pretty exciting.
Thank you. It has to feel different to the rest. That's the thing. It has to have that different feel. And it's not even all the things like we were saying with all the lines projecting from the head and from the chest for the head voice and the chest voice and that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not sure whether that would be something that everyone would pick up, but from my point of view, it's satisfying. But it's nice to have those things, because even if somebody doesn't necessarily pick up on what that actually specifically means, it still adds an interest to those images.
Sitting outside, I want to kind of fantasy book here a little bit. And we know, Martin, you've done Dracula and now Phantom of the Opera for this Universal Monsters project. Tyler, this is you just doing Phantom. If there was if they came to you and were like, any other you can do on the table, whether they were done or not, or what Universal monster would you choose if you could next?
I don't know if this is it a Universal, but some sort of Jekyll and Hyde book would be great. I think that would be awesome.
This is just me being a knucklehead, but I'd want to do like Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. I just doing a straight comedy. It was so much fun doing a pure sort of trying to do a pure gothic horror story, that like going the other way and doing a slapstick comedy would be funny.
A tremendous series. Bring that back. It would be great. I would read it, put it that way. Staying in the horror vein, this is a horror book, obviously lots of inspiration stuff. So I want to get outside of Universal. What is your favorite monster / horror villain of all time?
If you got to think, Martin, it's for me, it's easy. It's just my favorite auteur, one of my favorite auteur. It's Mike Myers, just the original Halloween with Carpenter doing script, directing, score. Big Carpenter fan, so just it's hard. There's other movies maybe that I watch more often or do other things, but that one just feels like everything's sort of shooting off from it. So
I mean, there's never been a good film adaptation of this, but something sort of Cthulhu based, I think for me would be something pretty exciting to do. Yeah,
that always gets brought. There's always like talks of it, but they don't ever really go too deep unless it's like a surprise appearance.
There's a Del Toro one, wasn't there? They were talking about, but which never materialized, which would have been great. I expect
he's talking about doing Phantom now.
There you go. Listen, you can take the credit and say, "Hey, listen, we now
inspired.
You've been inspired." Like I said, this book is, once everybody gets a chance to see this, the art is fantastic. The look is just unique, and I think that goes to show for both of you have whether it's the art or the writing, going back. I was such a big fan of You'll Do Bad Things. Very, very much a slasher giallo type story in its own. And you kind of in the writing, even for what in the issue 1, you kind of see some of that. And when you said Michael Myers, it's easy to pick up on it. You get the stalking, you get the, it's those little things which really do play a really big role. And of course, Martin, your work between, Department of Truth and Dracula and this, if you could pick any, I'm giving you guys this whole big thing because I think you guys are amazing. If you could pick any project, money's not an issue, IPs aren't an issue. Is there what project would be your dream project?
I mean, it's always going to be creator owned for me. That's still the most rewarding, I think, for me personally, is doing stuff from the ground up. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, there's loads of other things I like to have a go at. I mean, Batman's always one that I'm gonna want to do. Always gonna want to do Batman in some form or another. One day it might happen. But yeah,
I'll never be able to do it because the company who owns these characters are quite litigious. Starts with a D, but I had a very sort of, if you're familiar with Air Pirates, which is a sort of satire comic from the 70s, there was a horror version story I had involving a creator of those characters doing unspeakable things. But I don't particularly want to get sued.
I can understand that one. That could be a slippery slope, but it would still be would still be good if we could figure out a way to work that in without without the lawsuit. I think that would be a home run for sure. We're almost coming to the end here. I want to give one more final pitch. What if somebody's watching this and they're still on the fence for whatever reason? I don't know why you would be about Phantom of the Opera. What's the final pitch to go out there and pick it up at the LCS?
Young girl starts a new job and there's a stalker in the basement.
I've got it.
I mean, I don't think it gets more perfect than that. Make sure you get down to the shops by this Monday, because this is coming out on this is Friday. If you're watching this live, it is coming out before January 26th. So Monday, January 26th, get down to the shops. Make sure you order your copy of Universal Monsters Phantom of the Opera #1. You will not regret it. It's coming out on February 25th. Trust me. I've been blessed enough to read the first issue. Tremendous work across the board. So you're definitely going to want to pick it up. Once again, Tyler, Martin, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I really appreciate it. We'll have to have you guys on again at any time you want to plug anything. I'm a huge fan of both of your work, so I'd love to talk to you anytime.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks so much, Rich.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
All right. Now we're going to be signing off from you guys. Thank you so much for tuning into FANLIGHT ZONE Presents. For myself and the rest of the FANLIGHTZone.com team, thank you so much, and later, comic fans.